Hello, welcome to our debate about the frozen conflict in Transnistria and the impact on the Black Sea security. My name is Ovidiu NAHOI. I'm editor-in-chief from Radio France International, Romania. We are not only a radio broadcaster here in Bucharest. Here in Bucharest, it's a regional hub of our company based in Paris. We host in Bucharest the editorial team for Ukraine in Ukrainian language, and also we manage the editorial team from Republic of Moldova. So we are very involved in the region in order to reporting reality and fight against disinformation and hybrid war. So we have to speak about Transnistria. It's one of the most important challenges for the moment. The Russian imperialist and illegal war against Ukraine increased the geopolitical importance of Transnistria. The region, the illegal regime from Tiraspol, it's a factor of instability in the Eastern Europe and in the Black Sea region. Also, the Transnistria dossier, it's a K1 in effort of Chișinău to join the European Union. So what are the means of Chișinău to assert and to enforce the sovereignty recognized international, the sovereignty in Transnistrian region? How can Ukraine contribute, and how can the community of democracies contribute to a solution of this issue? There are very important questions, and we are waiting for some answers. Let me to introduce our guests, the guests of the panel. Mrs. Luminița ODOBESCU, Foreign Affairs Advisor of the Prime Minister and former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Romania. Mr. Iulian GROZA, it's Executive Director, Institute for European Policies and Reforms, Moldova. General Volodymyr HAVRYLOV, former Deputy Minister of Defense, Ukraine. Ambassador Victor JACKOVICH, CEO of Jackovich International, former head of the First U.S. representation to the independent state of Moldova. Mr. Jackovich came from USA. Mr. Radu BURDUJA, Executive Director, Euro-Atlantic Institute for Building Resilience, Republic of Moldova. So, Mrs. ODOBESCU, you are the Foreign Affairs Advisor to the Prime Minister. You are former Minister of Foreign Affairs. You are former head of Romania representative at the European Union in Brussels. So, how the war in Ukraine transformed the strategic relevance of Transnistria in the Black Sea region? Yeah, it's okay.
Yes. First of all, good afternoon, and many thanks for the invitation. This is really a very important and, as you said, challenging topic for not only for Chișinău but also for Bucharest, but also for Brussels and other capitals, because there is a window of opportunity to move forward, but we have to support or continue to support Chișinău in this respect. We are living in a very volatile and challenging region, and the war in Ukraine had consequences on us, on the Republic of Moldova, of course, on its security. We all have seen practically the challenges in terms of hybrid threats, in terms of real threats, cybersecurity and espionage, and Transnistria is still a Russian asset, and we know for sure that Russia will not easily give it away. So this is a very challenging topic for all of us, firstly for Chisinau, and my starting point in all the discussion about Transnistria is to support the Chisinau efforts. Chisinau should remain in the driving seat of this discussion. Any scenario, any ideas, either in Brussels, because of course we are very much interested as you, or even in Bucharest, because we are also interested in settling this conflict, and frozen conflict, has a very basic fundamental line: support for the efforts of Chisinau. This is a very important point because we are speaking about the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Republic of Moldova. So this is really important. As I said, the second point, it's Russia will not give away easily what's going on in Transnistria. And this is a challenge for all of us, how to find the proper solutions, how to help Chisinau to solve in a gradual way this process of reintegration and convergences. Knowing that the reality on the ground is still the same. I mean, we face there the Russians' illegal troops. We have an ammunition depot in Covasna, and we have a very artificial economic systems. Yes, with a lot of subsidies, and with this energy arrangement. And we also face a leadership which is economically benefiting from accession, from this, from the trade agreement with EU, but politically is still working with Russia. So these are challenges for Chisinau, but also for us, because this is an opportunity in the context of the integration process to solve the problems, but it's not easy. It's a security issue. And this is why I'm saying, and I'm underlining how important it is to support Chisinau, but to support it in a way not to affect the integration process. And this is really a challenge question and issue for our colleagues in Chisinau. How to do it? This is a question, and you also questioned how Ukraine or the war in Ukraine affected this situation. I think Ukraine is really a partner for the discussions. Even in the current format, we very much support 1+1 because this is domestic business and of Chisinau. But it's important to look at in a broader prospect of the security of the whole regions, because we do not have any interest in keeping this frozen conflict here in our region, and is not a positive thing for Moldova first, but also for Romania and for Ukraine. And irrespective of the solutions would be found in with respect to settling this Transnistria's situation, I think it's really important to keep in our mind that Russia will continue to use Transnistria as a kind of instruments in part of this hybrid threats against Moldova and against us. So we have to be very smart in supporting Chisinau, in finding the best solutions, and all the solutions should start and take also in consideration the economic situation there, And looking to the citizens of Transnistria, there are a lot of good ideas on the tables. We have to discuss it, and we have to be very attentive to not affect the integration process, because this is reintegration of Transnistria or convergence of Transnistria is completely different, but we should not be at the end of the process with respect to the integration and then allow Russia space to use Transnistria against integration process of Republic of Moldova. So these are a lot of challenges for all of us, of course, mainly for Chișinău, but for all of us in the regions, because it's about our security, and it's about, of course, Moldova first. It's about security of Republic of Moldova, but it's also our security in the region of the Black Sea.
Thank you, Mrs. Odobescu, for your first remarks in our debate. Mr. GROZA, you are expert in European affairs. You was part of the negotiation team of Moldova for the association agreement with EU. How vulnerable is Moldova to the hybrid pressure from Transnistria, and what does Chișinău in the last time in order to assert and improve the sovereignty in the region?
Thank you very much, Ovidiu, and for this panel. I think it's very good. Integrates into the broader security debates in the Black Sea. The short answer to your question is vulnerable but resilient. We learn how to operate in an environment that is impacted by a hybrid war, aggression by Russia, and Transnistria has been used by Russia always as a tool to influence Moldova's and negatively impact Moldova's territorial integrity, sovereignty choices, and scare at the same time Europe for some time. Until 2022, February, when Russia decided to re-engage into the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, that has changed the way how security looks here in the region, but also it impacted the way how European countries look at us in the region. And of course it impacted a lot the change in terms of how Moldova, Ukraine is advancing towards its objective to join the European Union. And also European Union sends more and more clear signals to Russia that Russia will not anymore have any veto power over our sovereign choices, on our decisions. Transnistrian region, of course, is remaining a high kinetic risk, given the fact that you still have Russian illegal presence, like Mr. ODOBESCU mentioned, the munitions depot, and that is just, to mind you, 80 kilometers from Odessa. But since the war started, I think what we managed to do is to try to engage and use more strategically the building leverages that Moldova started to have. Part of it, I think it was also thanks to the fact that Moldova managed to cut strains of dependency from Russia, and where we started where hurt it more, and that was the energy sector. I remember 2021, after the parliamentary elections, the first engagements with Russian officials have been taking place in Chișinău. Kozak visited Chișinău and had some first meetings with the president and the new parliamentary majority, trying to test the red lines. Moldova has been doing the same. And since then, what we have seen how Russia tried to instrumentalize not only the threat against Moldova with, escalation or giving threats about potential troubles happening in the region, but mainly they tried to instrumentalize the energy dependency. And few weeks after that meeting, we have started to see how Russia's tried to blackmail us with energy dependency. And when we have seen that Russian contract for supply of gas has been started to renegotiate, and one of the items which I understand were put on the topic of a discussion from Kremlin was that in order to get some discounts for the supply of the gas from Russia, Moldova could take some decisions linked to the military topic, to the Transnistrian topic, and so on and so forth. Moldova decided then to change its approach, and think that was very much due to the fact that in Chisinau we have seen a change of attitude towards national security topics. And I think in Chisinau already at that time we were feeling that and getting signs that Russia has some plans to reactivate the war in Ukraine. And then the first thing we did, we looked into cutting this dependency. 1.5 years later, Moldova is zero dependent on Russia gas supplies. Moldova managed to diversify. And even last year, when the remaining supply going to Transnistria region, the gas was going there. After the cancellation of transit contract with Ukraine, Russia didn't care to find other ways how to bring the gas in Transnistria, and actually they left Transnistrian region in middle of the winter without gas, without electricity, in a way to create that crisis that would impact, of course, the region there, but also would try to escalate and try to interfere into our democratic processes later last year. We managed to address that. So Moldova is still vulnerable. We still have vulnerabilities, in particular and we have to address them. But I think the lesson learned for now is that Moldova managed to adapt. Moldova managed to focus on building up societal and internal and institutional resilience, and the EU has played an important role in that sense, including every electoral cycle, because those were the targets of Russia. This last year was not an exception, but I think we managed to make a difference. And I think Moldova, Chisinau today is very much aware of the fact that Transnistrian region is instrumentalized by Russia in hybrid operations. Many cyber attacks are going from there. Many disinformation campaigns are done from there. Many illegal financing schemes are done from there. And from time to time, you would see provocations happening to incite a bit, the feeling of insecurity, both in the region but also in Moldova. But today, I think Russia has less and less instruments to influence. And I think the lesson learned from now on is that Moldova has today bigger leverages. I think we have a clear direction. Our track towards the European Union provides added value instruments to help reintegration process. Today, Moldova has presented its vision for reintegration. I think at least we are seeing more and more actions to show that reintegration starts to work. At the same time, Chisinau and Tiraspol managed to maintain dialogue, continued dialogue, and I think it's very transparent. It's also constructive, but I think also the elites in the region also realize that they do not have an other alternative than to engage further in benefiting from the opportunities that the European Union has been giving to Moldova, including to the Transnistrian region. And you mentioned in your question about the fact that the association agreement actually was one of the first tools to help to build bridges and to build confidence. And today, all the businesses operating in the region are basically doing the business with Moldova, with the European Union, thanks to that. And all the citizens of Moldova are able to reintegrate into Moldova, thanks to the visa-free travel we got back in 2014. And I think today we have more opportunities, but we need also to make sure that we keep pressure on Russia to push Russia from the region, to use the increasing leverages we have to help reintegration, and to send a very clear signal that any escalation has a cost. And final point is that, and I think I mentioned it also yesterday at the presentation of the Black Swan in the Black Sea book, given the developments in Ukraine, any unjust peace for Ukraine without clear guarantees, without clear security guarantees, without clear re-entrenched security architecture in Europe, will continue to create big threats to entire region, to Moldova, because in that case, the space for hybrid aggression will reactivate. I think will increase even more. And I do not talk about further ways how Russia can instrumentalize the region if the Russian troops are still there, if the Cobalt ammunition depot is still there. So talking about the peace in Ukraine, I think we have in mind also the way how we make sure that that is also impacting positively Moldova. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. GROZA. General HAVRYLOV, you are former the Deputy Minister of Defense, Ukraine. Also, you are fellow Atlantic Council. How Kiev and Ukraine can contribute in order to fix this very important regional issue?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
First of all, Ukraine already started to contribute to resolving this issue by defeating Russia step by step on the ground and in this war. Decline in Russian economy sooner or later will create a situation then Transnistria is inevitably has to make a solution, because they will never survive without Russian support. And Russia is now thinking about how to survive themselves. That's why there is a window of opportunity for Moldova to have arrangement with Transnistria elites. And in this situation, Ukraine can play an important role as a third side in terms of the kind of security guarantees on the perimeter of Transnistria, because we are not in a situation now in Ukraine as in 22. Now we have capability, we have all knowledge how to keep enemies away without using huge forces, but using other technologies. So, and Transnistria, they're surrounded by, from all sides, by Moldova and Ukrainian territory. So they have limited military, from military point of view, they have limited opportunities at all. So they know about that. So they're looking intently what is going on in Moscow, what are the resolution on the conflict with Ukraine. And of course, the result of this war inevitably will make an influence, impact on the moods in Transnistria and their desire to find a solution. Nobody knows what it could be, but of course, Moldova is a key engine in that, because it's a Moldovan territory. And we are interested that Moldova be strong and integrated without that kind of Russian proxy presence there. But nevertheless, Ukraine, we can't interfere directly, you understand. From military point of view, in case of crazy guys, for example, from our side, given the situation with the war, and just to remove the threat, potential threat of possible Russian movements from Transnistria territory to territory of Ukraine, in case of some evidence, of course, we can make a very powerful push to just remove that problem from the map very easy between us. But we are not going to do that because it's a territory of Moldova. We have to be engaged with the Moldovan leadership and government and people. It's up to them to decide how to find the right communication with the elites in Transnistria to make a final resolution. For us, also this area requires a lot of attention, because time to time we have information warfare efforts from Russia, just sending some messages that something could be started from Transnistria territory to threaten our deep area in Luminița area, like that. And they are testing how we react to that. Of course, proximity of Odessa is also important for us to understand what is going on. But to our assessment, of course, they have no military potential to threaten Ukraine now. And these stocks of ammunition which are mentioned is ammunition which are God knows how many years old. Most of them are not usable at all. So they could be destroyed very fast and easy in modern warfare in case of something. So we are not considering this as a kind of problem in this area. It's more about people. It's about the people to decide what to do after the conflict. With Russia in decline, with no support from them, with opportunities to live a different life together with European countries and as a part of Moldova, and to find the right place in the future. That is a challenge. But today, we are not in 22 or even 20 years ago. Now Moldova has a powerful friend, Ukraine, next to this area, who is ready to support, assist the Moldovan friends in any kind of challenges. And in case of something, we have all necessary instruments how to do it in the right way. That's in two words. From military point of view, it's not a challenge for Ukraine at all. And it's now used only by Russia for information warfare issues. I totally believe that after this war, inevitably Ukraine will never surrender on Russian conditions. We are not going to frozen the conflict. We are going to just to keep our territories. But inevitably Russia is in a decline. I hope this year we'll have a kind of final solution with the war. And for Transnistria and for Moldova, it's a window opportunity to engage in more realistic dialogue and to find a solution which is in the benefit of Moldovan people. Thank you.
Thank you, General, for your remarks. Ambassador Victor JACKOVICH, he was a former head of the first U.S. representative to the independent state of Moldova. He was ambassador in some Balkan countries, in Bosnia, Herzegovina, in Slovenia, and as you told me before our meeting, he was the head of editorial team for former Yugoslavia at Radio Voice of America. So it's very interesting, and so you have a vision for the whole region. What is the role play Transnistria in this extended region?
Well, thank you very much. Let me tell you a quick story first, because I was asked by some of the organizers to do this. The way we opened the American embassy in 1992 was remarkable, because we didn't really have an embassy. Today there's a large building that functions, it looks like an embassy, it's very imposing. But in 1992, I remember very vividly, I put an American flag over the balcony of my hotel room in the Hotel Codru. I turned on a tape recorder and played the national anthem. I made a few remarks to the assembled people, which was 3 or 4 people working on the staff. And then I sat down and I wrote a telegram to Washington saying, the American embassy in Chisinau is now open. And that's a true story. Since that time, I left immediately afterwards, but I can tell you that the U.S. support to Moldova has been rather remarkable over the years. Since independence, over $2.5 billion of assistance has gone to Moldova from the United States, mainly in modernization economic reform, democratization, a small part of that also to military aid. The EU has now stepped up, and there's a recent package of nearly $2 billion coming from the European Union. But I mention this because, in fact, Moldova has been really an orphan of the Western democratization processes in Europe. It's been an orphan of that. The EU did not pay attention for a long time. The United States certainly did not pay attention for a long time, in spite of all of the money that I say was invested. And I think the war in Ukraine focused attention on what's happening in Moldova. Moldova has become a beneficiary, if you will, of what is happening in Ukraine, and we tend to look at it through that prism. I must say also the international negotiation efforts about Moldova were really not very well structured. The 5+2 structuring, for example, the two parties to the conflict were identified as the Moldovan government and Transnistria. In other words, the legitimate, internationally recognized government of Moldova was made the equivalent of a secessionist movement. And this is doomed to failure from the very beginning. We made the same mistake, by the way, in Bosnia-Herzegovina, where after the hostilities broke out, we said we must sit down and make a resolution to the conflict. We must sit down with the three warring parties. Well, who were the three warring parties? The legitimate government of Bosnia was one, the Croatian secessionist movement was the other, and the Serbian secessionist movement was the third, meaning that the secessionist movements were elevated to the status of the legitimate, internationally recognized government. And what do you have today? You have a dysfunctional Bosnia-Herzegovina. You probably have a dysfunctional, at least for the moment, Moldova for similar reasons. The other mistake was made that Romania was not really a substantive factor in the structure of the negotiations. Romania was always extremely supportive of Moldova in all aspects, but they were not formally a part of the negotiating structure. And this is really odd when you consider where Romania is and when you consider the relations that are quite natural between Moldova and Romania. In the interest of time, I will just say a few more words, and that is, what does the future look like? I'm being told sometimes that I like to talk about the past because that's where my activity was in the past many, many decades of working in the Balkans and working in Moldova and working in Romania. But you need to look to the future. In my opinion, the future needs to look something like this. We need to have continued strong support to Moldova during the war to Ukraine and after the war to Ukraine. I said earlier that we tend to view Moldova today through the prism as a beneficiary of the war in Ukraine, but this is not correct. We need to look at Moldova in a more substantive manner and keep the substantive support of Moldova going, no matter what happens with the, I should say, Russian war in Ukraine or against Ukraine. We need to have a focus on hybrid warfare, especially on cyber and especially on disinformation, misinformation campaigns. Cyber, I was very pleased to see that there's a cyber agreement between Moldova, Romania, and Ukraine. We need to make sure that this is front and center of future activities because this is the platform for future dangers and future vulnerabilities for small countries, particularly like Moldova. And finally, we must make sure that there is a solid, rapid integration process for Moldova into the mainstream of Europe, the European Union and other European agencies. This is extremely important. I know that the European Union has extended membership candidacy in 2022. The idea is to become a full member in 2030. Maybe we can accelerate that, but in any case, it must be an integral member of the European mainstream. This is really, truly the beneficial and prosperous future of Moldova and all of the Moldovan people and citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Victor JACKOVICH, for your remarks. Mr. Radu BURDUJA, you are our Executive Director for Euro-Atlantic Institute for Building Resilience in Moldova. You have 27 years experience like military, you are expert in defense and security. We know Russia wants to keep political and geopolitical tools in the region of the Black Sea and in former Soviet area to keep the influence. Can Transnistria be a strong tool in the hands of Russia at this moment?
Well, thank you for the question. Great to be here. Yes, I think we will do a little bit more deep dive into the military structure because I believe this is very important. And maybe not so much about the Transnistrian so-called armed forces, but the underlying thing that supports them. And this, I think, it's very interesting to address. We all kind of agreed here that Transnistria is not the problem of the Republic of Moldova only, it's a wider problem. Black Sea region problem, but also European Union problem and so on, because Transnistria poses an existential threat to the Republic of Moldova. It prevents European Union from enlargement. It creates a challenge for the NATO eastern flank, and it creates a pressure point for Ukraine, as you rightly mentioned. What is the center of gravity of this pressure and the backbone of this is the Russian military presence in the Republic of Moldova, or in Transnistria, so to speak. Why? Because this small contingent, which is about 1,500 people, it basically allows Russian Federation to project power in the region. It has the, say it casus bellis, it has the all necessary motives to support and project power in the region, whether it is military or hybrid, represented by hybrid threats. That's why, in the nutshell, the problem in Transnistria is the military presence. Now, the military presence in Transnistria is composed of two elements. One is the operational group of Russian forces that remained after the 14th Army, and supposedly they remain to guard the Kobasna ammunition depots. And then the second element is the Russian peacekeeping force, which is part of the agreement established in 1992. The problem with this, they have very different entities. One has legal coverage, and the other one is illegally stationed on our territory. But the problem is that they rotate between themselves. So Russian peacekeeping force, in the absence of the possibility to rotate the peacekeeping contingents, they use operational group of Russian forces as a fourth generation instrument. In order to recruit people into this structure, they also use local population from Transnistria. And then you see the rotation of military personnel even through the so-called armed forces or military formations of the Transnistrian region. Now, this backbone, the Russian military presence in Transnistria, it basically constitutes the power behind the Transnistria regime. It is ideological, it is military, and it is something that Transnistria regimes perceives that look, Russian Federation is behind us. So that's why they have created throughout history this leverage. So the biggest problem, or if we narrow this problem in a nutshell, the removal of Russian military presence from Transnistria will resolve a bigger part of the Transnistrian problem that we have at hand right now. Now, this is easier said than done, but I think we in Moldova and the international community helped us develop some concrete steps into this direction. In order for a proper military component to function, it needs logistical support, it needs economic support, and so on. Now the Transnistrian region being isolated from Ukraine, and also on the other side is the Republic of Moldova, the question is, how do they supply themselves? Where the supplies come from? How do we deal with the issue of separating those supply lines, those economic efforts to maintain the viability of these forces? And I believe this should be one of the main efforts of the international community and of the Republic of Moldova in order to deal with the Transnistrian solution of the Transnistrian conflict. I believe nobody, either in Moldova or, as you said, in Ukraine, would like to move into the kinetic resolution of the conflict. Even though Ukraine can do this, it will mean basically the enlargement of the existing conflict. But we for sure can take concrete steps in isolating military presence in Transnistria in order to make this position untenable for the Russian Federation. Thus, they don't have anymore the leverage that they have right now. And guess what? We supply those forces, or the forces in Transnistria are supplied by economic agents that can do business with the right bank, with European Union, with fuel supplies coming specifically, from the countries in the European Union. So these things needs to be restricted. I believe, and those economic agents, we know them, and the modus operandi is very simple. They supply within the greatest logistics supply or delivery of goods into the Transnistrian region. There is a small part for the military forces too. Now those things can be identified, and we should identify those things, because then the money goes through the offshore accounts into the accounts of those companies that help doing this, and to the leaders or the persons that help doing this. So I believe we can restrict those things. Another thing that I believe we did quite well in the recent right now was some of the restrictions imposed on the Transnistrian leadership. For example, I think it was a very good move of stripping of the Moldovan citizenship of some of the leadership of the Transnistrian region, and thus it sparked outrage in the region, and basically in Kremlin too. But guess what? They could not do anything about this because they don't have any more the leverage that they used to have. The other thing, restrictions or declaring undesirable persons on the territory of Moldova, the Russian military leadership of the Russian military component. This is the same prevent. So I think these kind of actions below the threshold of war, just like Russia practices it on us, I think we can move with those forward and be a bit more proactive. I don't want to say aggressive, but a bit more proactive, because I think those are efficient. I will close by saying that in order to solve this conflict and to get to a successful resolution, we need two conditions. First, Ukraine must win the war. Whatever this means for Ukraine, Ukraine must win the war against Russia, because as far, if Russian Federation is farther from the Republic of Moldova, I think the closest is the resolution of the Transnistrian conflict for us. And of course, an integrated international cooperation in order to solve this issue. Romania is helping us a lot. Ukraine is helping us a lot. I do believe that European Union already is helping us a lot, and it will help in the future. And of course, I think United States of America should be a very important player at this table. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burduja. We have a little bit of time for the conclusions. Are you optimistic or not for the future in the short and medium time, Mrs. ODOBESCU? Very short.
Yes, well, I'm optimistic because I really trust in the leadership in Chișinău doing its best in solving this difficult file, and I think it is really important, in addition with the measures who are now on the tables, I think to underline the importance of the integration process and on the support for the integration process of Republic of Moldova and of Ukraine as well. In addition, with all the efforts to fight the Russian hybrid threats and the Russian security threats against Moldova. And why I'm optimistic? Because I'm sure that with the progress in the integration, especially in the economic fields, but not only in the economic fields, those living in Transnistria will see the economic development, will see that there are jobs in the other part of the bank. They will see that it's good, and in fact they are benefiting even now from the association agreement with EU. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, and this is why we have to continue support Moldova in its integration process, in its economic development, and this in addition with different other measures related to the security. This will be a very important signal for the citizens there that, look, the development and the progress and the jobs are there, and we have to stay together.
Thank you, Mrs. ODOBESCU. The time is up, and one short, but 1 minute, please, not more. Please introduce yourself, but 1 minute, please.
Thank you for this wonderful discussion. My name is Mariana Prisezhnuk. I'm a journalist and researcher from Ukraine, and my question is about Transnistria and Hungary. After Ukraine stopped its transit of Russian gas, Hungary was that country who supplied supply of Russian gas through some financial mechanisms. Are you going to discuss recalibration of this mechanism, of this approach with new Hungarian authority in order to change some mediation of this country in the Transnistrian conflict?
Thank you. Who wants to reply? Yep, Iulian, GROZA.
I think currently that scheme is not fully in place. I think for some time already it is not operational. It has been used through various jurisdictions, but it was not sustainable. And what we know is that basically Gazprom has resumed, or considering to resume this, or consider actually resuming the supply through other routes, through Moldova gas. But that's something happening already for the last half a year or so. So that scheme is not anymore operational. So it's not valid for.
Thank you, Mr. GROZA. Thank you, all the panelists, for your contributions and remarks. Thank you at you for your attention. Goodbye.